Now, getting back to that timeline again. So bridal, yes, it's a very long lead time, but I feel like the moms of the weddings and bridal party, or anybody looking for a special occasion, that also takes time.
Yes.
We are a specialty boutique that it's not like the mall. You don't walk in, you have an event on Saturday, and you're gonna walk out with something else.
No.
So that's something also, and you will need alterations as well. So
I'm gonna talk a little bit too about and bring this topic up because we've talked about it as a team. Purchasing online. I'm gonna say it because there's a lot, I think, of moving parts in that where, you know, a lot of the time when we talk about these special events, because we're seeing more and more things are being purchased online because you want a good price. You don't want to spend as much.
Sure.
But there can be significant headaches. And we've have some stories, a lot of stories from this year, where it is not what you are thinking. And it's in turn going to cost you more once it goes into the alterations department. I don't know if you guys have been seeing that as well. It's a bit of a new trend, but how are you finding that, and what is something that clients or consumers should know when they are possibly thinking of purchasing online?
Sometimes what we have seen from the special occasions side in that sense, it's like, I bought something online and I got it and I don't love it.
Yes.
So now you don't have that lead time anymore because you waited for this thing to arrive from who knows where.
Yes.
And now you have to buy something off the rack from us.
Yeah.
Or we can try and rush something maybe. But again, like rushing things it's not always possible, and it costs more money and
more time, more stress, more headache, and at that end of the day, you have to say to yourself, is it worth it?
Yeah.
You know, for the one-off that maybe something does fit great,
sure,
you do need to think of the other side. That there can be more headaches involved with that,
especially if you've never ordered from that place before, because like there's just so many unknowns. It's the unknown, right? Here, if you're trying something on, or at a boutique when you're trying something on that you're going to order, you have tried it on.
Yes.
Like there's not surprises.
Correct.
For the most part, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I feel like you have a lot more
of that.
We do. We do. Because I know online shopping is becoming really popular, and you know, for alterations, we see people, whether they've purchased online, whether they haven't, they've borrowed, it doesn't matter. But I think we've seen quite a few things that have been shocking to us that we're like, okay, we need to touch base on this, you know, why you're purchasing from a boutique.
Right.
You know, what kind of, not just the experience, because the experience is a huge one for me personally as a consumer. I don't know, Steph, you're the same. Like, I want to touch, I want to feel, I want to over talk. I want to have that fun, right? Whereas when you're online and you're at home, you lose a lot of that. And you know, you're getting the cheaper price, but at what cost? So I think for us, for alterations, that's a really big conversation with our team, is just being very mindful of all the components that comes with purchasing online.
Okay, so let me ask you. What, like, your top horror story from an online purchase?
Probably the week of the wedding. Like, the dresses showed up late. It was the week of the wedding.
Like bridesmaids dresses?
Dresses. They all are wearing the same dress. So it's not like you can just go, oh, I'm going to go get another one. And the dress was sizes too small. Like, we're talking sizes. And it was not what it was described as, and our team literally had to work within like hours in production back and forth trying to recreate a dress, and even think, okay, a red dress. There's a bunch of different variations of red. So now it's also sourcing the fabric. Does the fabric work? Does it look added? You know, now you're seeing this in all the photos. Is the bride going to be happy with that overall? Because like, it is an investment. You're spending a lot on your wedding day. So we have heard that. Can you think of anything else at the top of your head?
I feel like, you know, something that people forget when it comes to like the quality of a garment as well. You can also tell the quality of something from the inside, not just from the outside. When it comes to like construction and tailoring,
like falling apart.
We can tell like from the techniques that are used, from certain fabrics that are used, and even just from the seams itself, because you know, when you're ordering from a higher quality designer, a lot of times they have alterations in mind, in consideration. And you'll see the the extra fabric in the seams to allow for letting something out or adjustments.
Yes.
Whereas, the designers that are trying to cut on costs to give you a more affordable garment,
Right.
they've cut every single thing out. They've searched it to the tiniest.
Some of them.
Yeah, it makes them
the
very
inches,
difficult
or we
to
have
adjust.
to tweak this. There's never enough in there.
Right.
And then also when it goes to production, we use top equipment. Our team takes pride in the look of the dress, and now that's being compromised because the quality of the material isn't good, so it's shredding, or runs and pulls. It's a
glue
nightmare.
being used and it yellowing.
We have seen so many online purchases this year, and I'm even talking bridal.
Glue. Yes.
Glue.
And it
They're
turns
gluing.
yellow. It turns
gluing,
yellow.
like
They are
appliques on?
gluing appliques, beadwork, crystals. Guys, there are ways to do it affordably that you're not going to be getting this in your photos. You're going to see it, or you're not going to be feeling your best. There are ways, sample shopping.
Yes.
That is an alternative where you're at least getting the quality, but you're still having those savings. And we work with our brides. Some brides will come in and they'll have a 3-inch heel, and we're like, could you make it a 2? Or could you, or they come in with a 1-inch, could you make it a 1.5? Because then you might not need to alter the hem.
Sure.
We won't compromise the craftsmanship of the alterations. We want the dress to look amazing, because their name's written all over it.
Right.
We will never compromise that. But there are ways we will try and help, Can we try this different shoe? If that's something you're comfortable with, that could save you hundreds of dollars. Right. So we're always willing to help in different ways than going the online route.
Right.
Just from our tailoring side.
I do want to say too, we touched on sizing and now we're touching on the online thing. So something with our brides is that as plus size brides or as plus size people, we do a lot of shopping online.
Yes.
Because we have to.
Correct.
So there's a level of comfort, or sort of, I guess, a level of familiarity, I'll say,
It
with
arrives to
online
your
shopping.
door.
Yes.
You don't have to go in and have
I don't have to go into a
experience.
store and be rejected because they don't have my size.
Right.
Okay.
Or things like that. So that's a thing. But what I want to say, is that at every price point in our store, so we start around 2 and we go up to $7,500, and all the things in between. At every price point, we have a designer that has unlimited sizing.
Amazing.
So that means, not every line that you go to at other stores that have plus size dresses go up to, they have a limit, is what I'm trying to say.
Right.
There is a limit. And so, we might have a couple of those lines here, but at every price point in our store, there is unlimited sizing opportunities for that bride who needs it.
That's amazing.
Yes. And do you want to go into a store? We have had this feedback. Do you want to go into a store and hold it up? And you have to feel it. You have to be in it. The experience in itself is such a big component to this whole experience. And I know, like you said, online is a big part of that consumer, but it doesn't have to be.
Absolutely.
It does not have to be. And seamlessly, it can be an amazing experience that you're going to remember forever.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Is there anything else we haven't covered?
We haven't touched on
Price range
of alterations.
Oh.
That's the most common question we get about
is a big
alterations.
one,
What do
yes.
I budget for alterations?
Yeah.
I mean, of course, if you're adding some sleeve or doing something elaborate, some kind of elaborate change in that sense, that's a different story.
Right.
But in general alterations.
Price
so I need a
range
hem, I
of
need a
them.
bustle, I need tailoring to the body, that kind of thing. What are the price ranges we're looking at?
I find there's a little misperception when it comes to the cost of what alterations are. So you think
course.
of needing your pants hem. You pop into a store, they do it, 10 minutes later you've got these pants hem. Bridal is a whole other ballgame. Whole other ballgame.
Yes.
It's a whole other process. It's a lengthy process.
Yes.
And it involves a lot of different hands. We have a production department. We have a finishings department. We have a front of house department that specifically does all the pinning. And these people that do this job are experts in fit and tailoring.
Right.
So when it comes to the pricing, it can range.
Sure.
It really depends on what is involved in your dress. Because like we said, it is a specialized art. We always say when we're doing alterations, it needs to be a manufactured finish. And basically what that means is if you get a dress altered and you can tell it's been altered, probably not the best job.
Right.
You should not be able to tell. So when we talk price point, there are lots of things to take into consideration. Labor of the job, so how long is it going to take our team to deconstruct that part of the dress before it even gets sewn? There are things like beadwork and lace. There's lace on the bottom of hems that have to fully come off by hand, and they also get put on by hand.
Back on.
Of course.
Yeah, it's very intricate.
It's very
Not glue.
meticulous.
Not glue.
It's
Not
all
glue.
hand sewn.
It's all hand done. And that does not even account for the fitting time.
Right.
Where we're actually putting figuring out how that end result is going to look. So there's a lot of moving parts to alterations.
For sure.
You can see it's the same as the dresses, where you can see alterations start at $400, where they might just need a hem or straps adjusted or a bustle put in. And it can go all the way up into the thousands.
Sure.
It really just depends. So when you are looking for a gown, things to take into consideration is detail, beadwork and lace. Sometimes beads are sewn directly onto the applique, and when we lift that applique, it all comes off together. We're like, oh, this is lovely. Or it all comes off
In a
one
million
by one.
pieces. Yeah.
And it has to be put back down.
Sure.
So in those types of jobs, you're going to be going more into the $800-900. Typically, I'd say this year, average has probably been the $800-900 range.
Okay. Yeah.
I would say that's pretty average.
Yeah.
And again, it depends on the style of dress. So a
Right.
lot of these dresses we're seeing, like we had ostrich feathers in the other day.
Wow.
In crescent, it was stunning. We had another one where, yes, it was all these little Swarovski crystals, hand placed on, or these 3D flowers that were put on. Those all have to come off, and we will not compromise the integrity of the dress,
Right.
the look and the feel, because again, it's an investment. And here's another fun thing. After you get married, you've had this dress altered. Now you decide you're selling it. Or you want to change it and you want to have a short little cocktail dress for your 1-year anniversary. Seen so many of those this year where they want to repurpose it, right? Sustainability.
Yeah.
You want to make sure that it's done the right way,
Sure.
so that you have options for your gown, because it is an investment piece.
100%. Yeah.
Right? So anything that you want to add to that? I feel like the cost
Yeah,
is a
I
big one.
find with cost, we do get a lot of clients who will reach out to ask for quotes and stuff like that. We really will not promise a price unless we're seeing the dress itself in person,
Sure.
because you can't always tell those exact finishings from a photo. This year more than ever, we're seeing a lot of unique techniques from the designers, which are a lot more labor intensive. Even the most simplest gowns that look like they won't need a lot of work, the inside is just so much more labor intensive than it really seems.
The chain.
We've been seeing a lot of different
Chain
things.
being sewn into seams where you have to take it all apart, and it's physical change. Chain for bottoms of hems to lay it down. We've seen where it's been multiple layers, but they're all sewn individually. So you're like, oh, it's taken sides, but it's taken sides 13 layers.
Yeah.
Right? So a lot of things to think about and consider why the alterations of bridal attire is significantly different than our everyday streetwear.
Oh yeah.
Right?
It's definitely a specialty.
It's very specialized, and our team goes to school for design, so they have their design background and they have their credentials there and their degrees. But then with our team, they actually have a couple years of retraining, and not because the design program is not good, it's great, but because bridal is just so different.
Yes.
It requires a different level of skill set.
Yeah, a lot of specialization to be able to, understand a bridal gown. And I feel like we've seen it all, but every year we still see
You think
something
you've seen it all until you haven't.
And then we're like, well, okay, back to the drawing board. But that's what makes a great team too, because
Right.
there is so many of us, and because we all come from the design background and we have the credentials, we can sit down. It's something that I might not think of. Steph will say, oh my God, well, what about this technique? And I'm like, oh my
Yes.
God, I didn't even think of that. Or our production manager will say, oh my God, like one time I saw, why don't we try that? Like it gets really interesting and creative up in production. That's going to give you the end result of what you're looking for, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we try to alleviate a lot of that alterations or add-ons for you by having our designers do it.
Yes.
So if our designer, and like I think I mentioned this earlier, but 75% of the designers we work with are customizable.
Love that.
So if our bride is looking to add a sleeve or adding an extra layer of sparkle within the tool, we're gonna have the designer do it so that it doesn't come to, when it comes to the alterations point, you're like, you just need basic.
And what an experience, like what an added experience, right? For the brides.
Yeah. I feel like there's also a misconception when it comes to ordering your dress, and you go into the boutique and they're taking your size, your measurements, your bust, your waist, your hips, maybe even putting in those customizations for you.
Be perfect.
They think when the dress comes it'll fit perfectly and everything will be down to a T.
Very
we've had
rare.
brides say, well, they took my measurements, so it should have been made for
to
my
measure.
body. But alterations are always involved, even if it's the smallest, littlest tweak, because our human bodies are not made perfectly, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's different.
Everyone's
you have
different,
to
different
account
shape.
for one shoulder being higher than the other, or
Cut yourself in half, you're not going to be even.
100%.
Right?
100%.
So something's going to be required.
There's always more to consider. This adjustments are always part of the process for sure. So a question that I have for the two of you is that if a bride is nervous to purchase because she wants to hold off to the last minute, maybe they're on a fitness journey, or they fluctuate a lot, or they're nervous about ordering too early. What's kind of the options for them, or how would you go about that?
That's a great question. Yeah, sometimes we hear that brides, I'm gonna wait a little bit, I'm like on a weight loss journey, or XYZ, any reason. What we say is that if you come in as early as possible, you will have the widest selection of dresses to choose from. You're not gonna be restricted by timelines. And also, with many of our designers, we can place a preliminary order with production.
So basically, like, hold your spot in the queue of production.
Right, that queue that we were talking
That's
about.
very interesting.
Yeah, and then they'll give us a date far in the future where we can confirm that sizing. So that is going to mean that your time frame at the end is a little bit shorter. So like how we would normally want your gown to come in like 5 months before.
Right.
It's now maybe only going to be like 3 months. Still a gap. Like it's still plenty to work
That's very
with.
important to know that you're literally being held into the queue.
Yes.
And
yes.
then you can still
Just
do
need
it.
to get in there.
It's just
that's
it's
the
getting
most
Yes,
important
get in
thing.
there.
It's getting in there because again, we're having these calls where it's, oh my gosh, I can't find exactly what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I go into the store and the selections, there's no selection. Well, there's no selection because of this, right?
Yes.
So being early is never going to be a problem.
Never.
It's being too late.
Yes.
That you're going to come into more hurdles on top of everything else you're planning.
Right. Yeah.
So,
Right?
I'm going to have you continue the whole having come back, but also keep in mind that some designers do a discontinuation list once a year as well.
Right.
So if you don't put yourself in that production queue and you wait and wait and wait, well, that dress that you have your eye on may be discontinued, and we really won't be able to get it at that point.
Right.
So there's so many different
And I feel
factors.
like once you have yourself set on something, like you're now set. And now when you can't get it, you're even more set on it.
Yes.
Totally.
Right?
Yes. And we might sell samples too. So, maybe you started shopping with us and then you're like, okay, I'm not ready to commit. But that dress may not be here if you come back in 4 months, right? So, so you've kind of lost that opportunity to retry it. But
Tell me a bit about how the remeasure process works.
So sometimes we'll take your measurements in the beginning, especially if you're from out of town. When I say in the beginning, the day that you say yes.
Right.
And then, so again, we'll get the date from the designer as to when they need that confirmed by, and we'll have you come in probably like a week before then, roughly a week, And we'll take your measurements and choose your size. Sometimes, again, that's a custom size because of whatever your needs are, like maybe your split size.
What is a split size? Just for anyone who's asking. Because anytime you hear split size, some brides will say,
what does that mean?
I lost you. What is split size?
So split size is kind of a generic term. It could mean many things. Most of the time what it means is that up top I'm one size and on my hips I'm another size, and in a fitted gown that's important. In an A-line, not as important unless you're getting into like maybe you're very small up top and larger at the waist and you're in between two very different sizes on the chart. And so if you have a designer that's customizable and can be ordered in custom sizing, then you can what's called open the waist. So I can order you a size let's just say like 20 and open the waist to a 24. So that way in alterations, you don't have as much to deal with, right?
Yes,
You don't have to deal with a size 24 taking the bust down to a 20.
Right.
Right?
I feel like most people are split sizing.
Yeah.
It's very rare that someone's perfect
Actually
all three
on that size
measurements,
chart,
right?
100%.
Yeah, it's very, very rare.
Yeah. And also, like, some people do end up changing their sizes. Some people don't when they come back for the remeasure. Or we also have your measurements on file. If you live at a town, you decide, you know what, I can't make it back for that remeasure. Just order as I was. I really haven't changed much. Let's just do that. That's still an option too. It's
Amazing.
fine, right?
Yeah.
So
That's a great option for brides to have for sure.
yeah.
How are we feeling?
I think we've covered so much.
I feel like we could be here all day.
Yeah, it's
long.
true.
Because
Definitely good.
Yeah, I feel like there's still so much to cover.
So much.
But we want to thank everybody for joining us today. Again, this is TWS. We are here at More to Love Bride. Make sure you follow them. And we are going to be back with more hot topics in the future because I feel like this conversation is not done. It's never going to be done.
We're just beginning.
Right?
And for any of our brides that are watching, if you have any questions about any of the things we talked about, or any more things that we didn't talk about, let us know. We love to talk about this stuff.
Comment and let us know.
Yeah.
We'll keep it for our next chat.
Yes, amazing.
Take care, guys.
Bye.